right, race fans, Ryan Aho here with Dirt Race Central. We're visiting with another one of the young guns. How old are you even? I don't even know how old you are.
17. I turned 17 in October.
Yeah, he's still wet. You can see it, the race fans dripping behind the ears. He's wet behind the ears. Man, I feel old because, like, I was going to say you're like half my age, but like I'm almost 3 times older than you, so that's a bunch of BS, right? So we're visiting with Jake Froemke, street stock. It's crazy. You've been racing, I think, 4 or 5 years now, the street stock, and
Yep.
you start to become one of the veteran drivers at 17, right? So that's kind of unheard of. Let's talk a little racing, I guess. First of all, how the heck you doing?
I mean, we're doing pretty good. We're working on the super stock right now. This is a lot different than a streeter. We're in the process of bending tin up, so that's something we've never done. We've always been welding.
You best get good at that in a super stock. That's kind of
You betcha.
I call super stocks roller derby on dirt, right?
Yep.
They don't really frown on contact. It's actually kind of encouraged, and you'll learn that quickly. So
Yeah.
let's talk about. Let's start from the beginning, right? Because I think it's kind of cool to get people to know a little bit about you. Then we'll talk about your upcoming plans because you said you're making a transition here. But tell us about yourself. Where are you from? You said you're 17. Where do you live?
Oh, well, I was born in North Dakota, or Fargo, North Dakota, and our family kind of roots from Wheaton, Minnesota. But we landed here in International Falls since I was about 6, and we've been up here ever since. The border crossing to Canada is in my town. You can't go any further north without being a Canadian. But
yeah, that's for sure. So race fans, it is cold. It's really cold up there. International Falls. See, I played high school hockey. I lived in Chisholm, Minnesota. Obviously, you know where that is. And we used to travel up to International Falls, and we thought it was cold in Chisholm. It's really cold in International Falls in January.
Oh, yeah.
One of the coldest parts of the country. And you're still, what are you, a senior in high school then?
I'm a junior.
You're a junior. Are you doing the homeschool deal? Is it distance learning? What do you guys got going on with that?
Well, I'm taking college courses, so luckily that's all some are online, some are in person, some are mixed, but it's not, what I do doesn't really relate to high school, but it was definitely a challenge. But
yeah, it's been a different year for sure. So let's go to racing. How did you get started? I mean, you're 17, you've been racing for several years already. How did you get started racing? What did you start racing? And what are some things that you've raced up until now?
Well, first, racing's kind of always been in our family, but we haven't, not dirt racing. Dirt racing is kind of new. So my grandpa used to race snowmobiles, and then my dad and my uncle each started enduro racing, and that's when my uncle got into building motors, which I'll get into that later. And then they raced enduro for I don't even know how many years. And then I was born, and then that went away. and then my dad bought a drag car because he'd always been into drag racing. And then he drag raced for a couple years. I was almost a drag racer. I almost hopped in the junior dragster when I was like, I don't know, 6. And then my uncle, who was right around Fargo, so Red River Valley every weekend, Glendon, Ada, dirt track racing had always been kind of a step since my uncle, my dad. That's just been like our thing. And once, I got to think about this quick. My uncle bought Keaton, my cousin, or like my dad's cousin who raced modified, Talon Tomerdal.
Okay, yep.
Her go-kart, my uncle bought that for Keaton, my cousin, who's a year younger than I am. And when he was 6, so I was 7, and then I saw like a VHS video of Keaton racing, and I'd never seen like circle racing before, because up to this point, I had been solely, I've seen cars go in a straight line since the first 5 years. That was the greatest thing. And then that winter, I got a go-kart, and then the rest was kind of history. I raced go-karts from 7 or 8 until I was 11, and did really well. We actually, my dad and a couple other racing dads from across the border. Emo was my home track for, well, it was for a long time because they had a go-kart track inside their big track, like a lot of tracks do. But to make it more than a one weekend deal, we made a racetrack over in the falls. So it was kind of, we had like 2-day shows. So we raced go-karts for 2 days at 2 different tracks. So it was pretty cool to be able to do that. So we did that until I was, 11. And then when I was 12, we bought well, we've never been a family that's had a ton of money. So we bought a car that we thought was straight and wasn't straight. And it was a pure stock that we put a sport mod motor in just to get me laps, because of course go-kart to a big car is a big transition. You don't need all the best stuff right away because
right.
Which I put it in the wall the second night, so luckily. but yeah, so we ran that for I think 6 races. Well, put it in the wall the second night, and then we had to reclip the front, which it was bent before that anyways, and then reclip the front, got another couple races in that year just for seat time, and then ran that same tired motor that had 90. It was underneath the bench up until a couple weeks ago. It was a motor my uncle built. It was for a sport mod. Pulled it out. Since the refresh, it had 90 shows on it, like 93 or something, and we were running that thing. And I actually got my first heat win with it when I was 13. We got our first heat win.
Was that up in Emo then?
Yep, up in Emo, yep.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool. And then I think I won maybe another heat, and then never got a win that year. No, I did. I got 2 wins that year with that motor. And then we reclipped the back of the car that winter, got a new motor. So this was 2018. This was 2017. We built a new motor, and for the 2017 season, and we put that in a car that was fairly straight, and then we won. Well, we only won 2 races in Emo that year, but that was a year we only ran, I think, 10 shows, but that was my first crack at a straight car, so then I had to relearn how to drive.
Right.
And then we just totally got rid of that car, because that thing it was 3 different cars. we called it a 3-piece, because aero chassis in the front, it was some 1990 car in the middle, and then we did the back on our own on jack stands, just kind of eyeballing it.
I may have had a car or 2 like that back in the day too, so I can relate to that for sure.
Yeah. So then we stepped away from that, and then we got a Krasinski in 20. What year was that? 2019. Well, the year we bought it in the fall 2018. Worked on it, built it, and then had a great year in 2019 in the streeter with that same motor. I think. Well, here I have it right here. That year we had 5 feature wins, 14 top 5s, and I think we only raced, I want to say 18 shows.
Yeah, there ain't nothing wrong with that. That's solid. That's almost 75-80% in the top 5, and that's a third of your races right there winning them. So I would say that's a pretty good breakout season for sure.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And I'd never, up to that point, that was the first year we actually did a bit of traveling, because before, that's another piece, is I'd always raced in Emo, and then in 2018, so before we got to Krasinski, we went to Greenbush a couple times, and then to Rice Lake for the Little Dream. That was it. And then, and Winnipeg. We went to Winnipeg for the first annual Brad Wall Memorial. And then we went back with the Krasinski in 2019, and we won the Brad Wall Memorial. We got a Greenbush win finally, and we qualified 4th for the Little Dream. So it was a pretty good year. I mean, we had a flat tire in the Little Dream, but it was still pretty cool to qualify 4th and run as well as we did. That was pretty.
You were in the hunt. I mean, and not arguably, that plain and simple is the biggest WISSOTA Street Stock event of the year. So to put yourself in position to be kind of running up front there, I mean, every good car is there. I mean, let's face it, that's the one that everybody in the street stock guns for sure.
Yeah, that was by far one of the, besides the Brad Wall, that was definitely the coolest race I've experienced. I think that was, the bummer about the flat tire, but that was the first race I'd ever seen a rubbered up track. Like people wouldn't think that with how, I don't know. I don't want to say how much I've raced, but all the tracks I've raced at, they never had rubber. So like up until Jamestown of this year, a little off topic, but up until Jamestown of this year, I didn't know how rubber worked. So, I mean, yeah, I've been racing a long time, but emo has notoriously been either just dry to where it won't take rubber or it's hammered down tacky. So that was a big thing. And of course, Rice Lake at the Little Dream, it's rubber, slick, tack, it's everything, grease even. It was, I just wasn't, my inexperience really came to show. I fell back kind of fairly quick in that, not going to lie. I was saving tires, but I didn't know that you didn't have to. Like, you just go hard in that race. But
that's how you learn, right? I mean, you're still you're still young. I mean, you're 17 years old, and when you went to the Little Dream, you were what, 15 or 16, right?
Yeah, that year, yeah.
So, I mean, let's face it. I mean, you don't know. Yeah, you're 15. You don't know what you don't know. It's just the way it is. I've raced against people that are 40, 50 years old that I'm pretty sure they don't know what the rubber means, and they're a lot older. So, I'm not going to mention any names, but let's just be honest. You watch enough racing, you're like, what are they doing, right? So, you had an excuse. You're 15. So, now let's talk about 2020, because it was kind of a, honestly, I never saw you race, right? Because you weren't down in Hibbing. They don't have street stocks. You're up in Emo, and you're kind of up in Emo and Greenbush, and like you said, Winnipeg, and kind of up there. Well, my area is Hibbing, Proctor, Grand Rapids, Prairie. That's kind of my base, and there's no street stocks really. So I never got to see you. And the first time that I actually saw you, I don't remember which race it was, but it was the first night you got second. You'll have to fill us in on what track that was at the Steffa Street Stock Tour. And I'm like, that was in Jamestown?
Yep.
Yeah. And all of a sudden I'm like, second place, and it said International Falls. I'm like, wait, what? Like, then all of a sudden I looked at the age, and I don't know if you were 16 or 17 at the time. When's your birthday? 16?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm like, dude, there's a 16-year-old kid from the Falls. It's all like, I just didn't put two and two together. I'm like, that's weird. Like, I had no idea. But it kind of got my attention because that series was super cool that they put together, and a lot of talented street stock drivers. And to see a 16-year-old from north of me travel west, get second in that deal, I'm like, dude, that's pretty awesome. I'm gonna kind of keep an eye on this guy. And you had quite a few podium finishes this year. I think you had a pair of seconds on the tour, and you ran very well. So you just got to get in the victory lane. But now you're not even racing at street stock next year, are you?
No, we're going on to Super next year. Yeah, we kind of buried the hatchet in the streeter because once we got the car. Well, this year was, not gonna lie, it was a bad luck year. Nothing. I mean, it was very promising the first 6 races, and then the gremlins started showing their heads, and then we had overheating issues, and then carburetor issues. We fought overheating for a long time, and just straight bad luck. Like on nights that everything went right, or seemed like it was going right with the car, we had bad luck. I mean, it was like the one night we were running second at Grand Forks in a lap car. He had an overheating issue. He was in the middle of the track, and he had to pull off, and it was dark. He wasn't waving his hand, and he just hung it right. We ripped the left front off the car, running second behind Justin Vogel about halfway through that race. That was a tough one to swallow, because that's a deal where there's nothing I could have done, but it was, you can't really, I mean, you can't point too many fingers, because the guy's struggling in the car to save a lot of money in a motor.
Yeah, we've all been there before. And looking at that race, isn't that the same race where Vogel got his glove caught in the seatbelt and lost control? So I mean, you could have been in second, maybe won that deal after he kind of handed it to Eric Riley. So yeah, So it's one of those deals, but that's just part of racing. I mean, you're going to have the good, the bad. You just got to kind of keep a good attitude. Now,
Yep.
talk about you. You bought Jason Cook's car, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yep. So that's a TRC, and
Yep.
and did you get a chance to run that at all to close out the season?
We did. Yeah. Well, that's another thing. It's out. It was really a bad luck year. In the first night in Superior, we had the round gears in. Jason set us up with everything we needed to know. We just made the wrong decision. And then the next night, because the gears were so far off that I couldn't really do anything. First of all, I figured out how wide the car was in the heat race. I got into someone and then ended up getting a DNF in the first corner of the heat. Because these things it's a foot wider than a street stock. I mean, it's I had no recollection I was even gonna possibly rub this guy, and I ripped the whole right side door bar off. I didn't even. It was.
Hey, that's my excuse too. I had no idea. I'm going to use that as an excuse too. All the times I ran into people, I just didn't realize how wide the car was. It just.
Yeah.
Who was it? Who'd you get into?
I think it was DJ Keeler. I think.
Did he say anything, or did he just kind of like shrug it off?
I'm sure he didn't know me, so.
Oops, my bad.
Yeah, you probably thought it was Jason. Sorry, Jason, but
right, right.
But anyways, so then, I mean, I was still getting the feel for that. It was okay in the feature, but then we put the right gears in for Saturday, and we did okay in the heat race. I think we started fourth and we finished where we started, which was mid pack. We weren't bad at all. We held right with them, but we got back to the in the feature. Sorry, I get ahead of myself all the time. We wrecked out in the feature. There was a wreck I just couldn't avoid, and then I got jacked up, but that was whatever. We got back, and the throttle linkage, we did it wrong when we fit myself for the seat. We put it in the wrong hole, so the throw was twice as long, so I only had 3/4 throttle.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Like 2/3. So didn't get to feel for what full power was, but we still did okay. And then we went to Bemidji and for the Stampede, which rained out the second day. And no, it was the first day it rained out. But the second day we got on track for the heat race, and it started raining. It was raining for our entire heat race. And I did
hear that.
Yeah, but it was just for my heat race, just my luck. So we raced in the rain, never had to pull a tire off because it was just washing the dirt off. And so I got to feel how super felt in the rain. But then I did get a full feature in Bemidji starting in the back to feel the car. So I definitely feel really comfortable going into next year. I feel like
where are you going to race? What's your plans? Where do you plan on racing next year?
Next year, well, that's the thing. We're still kind of undecided. I'm sure we'll get a loop figured out. Right now, I think now that we're kind of just starting, we might just bebop around everywhere and just try different tracks. Certainly, Superior would probably be a staple for a Friday. Then maybe Ogilvie and then Proctor, or Ashland and Proctor, or Rapids on some Thursdays maybe. Hibbing Saturday, all around there. I mean, we'll probably be at a majority of those tracks, and then probably take a trip down to, because Wheaton is over by Fergus, so we'll probably take some trips to Fergus, Alexandria, maybe even Wilmer.
And all of that stuff opens up before all the northern tracks, so you can go down there, kind of cut your teeth around there, and then by the time all the northern tracks open up, you have a few nights underneath you. That might not be such a bad deal there, And Ronnie builds a good car. I mean, you got a TRC. I mean, of course, Jason Cook's won races with that car. He's been very fast. I'm sure he kind of pointed you in the right direction. And if you call Mark, he'll help you out as well, over at TRC Race Cars. You talked about, so that's kind of your plans. What are your goals, I guess, for, essentially your rookie season in a WISSOTA Super Stock? Do you have some goals set out in front of you for 2021?
Well, we'll just kind of see how I guess, how the first weekend goes. I mean, I felt really good in the second night of Superior, and I mean, how fast the speed I had in Bemidji. So I don't feel like I top some. Once we can run consistently in the top 5 on a weekly night, that'd be awesome. If we can get to that by the end, like halfway through the year, that'd be awesome. I mean, a feature win would be crazy in our first year with the competition.
So what you're really trying to say is, Kevin Burdick, your winning's done. Seriously, you had your opportunity the last couple of years. Park it, get a late model, do whatever, because you're coming for him, is what you're saying?
Well, I mean, if we can get the car figured out, I'll certainly wheel it, but I don't know. It's all a learning curve. This is gonna be a challenge for sure.
Well, you drove by Johnny Broking pretty easily, so I mean, you probably drive by them guys too. I mean, talk about that. You actually not everybody knows this, but you actually have a John Seitz Memorial A main win on your resume now, and a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, yeah, Turnbull won it a couple times, but it's all the northern people, right? You got Estevan, Saskatchewan, you got Weiss, we got a guy from just south of the border in International Falls won it. Dude, I actually watched that. I watched that race. I was over at Broking's shop sitting out with Big John and Bob. And
really?
Yeah, Big John had it up on the screen, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna watch some racing." I'm like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh, this is that Sites deal." Okay, on the iRacing deal, of course, And you kind of slipped up. You said you made a mistake there on setup deal in the heat race, and Johnny. That was a good race actually. Johnny drove by on the top, and then you won the 92 lap A main John Seitz Memorial inaugural iRacing Invitational. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah, that was a really cool deal. That was fun racing with Johnny and Jeff Rempel. Jeff Rempel's actually Shane Edgington's crew chief for the late.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool. He had a wicked setup, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I was gonna say he gets after it pretty darn good too. So does that iRacing deal translate at all to dirt racing? I mean, is there something that you can carry over that if you do that? I mean, you young bucks are doing that all the time.
Yeah.
Does it help you for actual racing at all?
It doesn't help you learn how to drive a car, like certainly not. But the different situations, absolutely. Like the situations you get put in there, because it's all a matter of just gaining experience.
Right.
All the situations you get put in, it's just as real as real life,
Yeah, I was kind of watching that, and it's crazy how it's pretty realistic watching.
Yeah.
You're navigating lap traffic, and then you're banging the top, and you're diving in and crossing over, and I'm like, and you're exactly right. I mean, you start a lot of people are just trying to figure out how to drive, but you're learning how to pass, navigate, hit the different grooves.
Yeah.
And, so some of that stuff definitely does relate. And Johnny kind of said the same thing. Me and Bob tried it, and it's like, no. Maybe if we did it every single day, we might be good at it, but it was not good the first couple times that I tried that deal. And so you talked about some tracks that you want to race at. Let's talk about your sponsors. You've got a lot of people help you, and talk about some of the folks that help you out, and talk a little bit about your uncle. You keep saying your uncle builds engines. Who is your uncle, and where's he from? Does he build engines for other people or just you, or kind of talk about that as well?
Okay, so well, sponsors, we're a team that this super stock that I'm leaning my phone on would not be here without them. I don't even know what to say about my sponsors other than extremely blessed. They're very, very generous and very, very proud to be with each and every one of them. 54K Trucking, Ryan Kellen out of putting me on the spot here.
Somewhere up north there.
It's central Minnesota, so it's over by cities. No, not Carlstead.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, Carlson's Auto right in town here. Roach's Towing in town. Steve William Construction in town. Olson Investments. Quick Performance out of Iowa. They build rear end parts and stuff like that. Top of the line stuff. Rainy Lake Oil. They can ship gas just about anywhere, and it's cheap. I don't know why we get it so cheap up here, but we do. Forest Land Sales and Service, Wickstrom Rentals, Frostbite Graphics, Excel, Ideal Signs and Apparel, and then Rusty Anchor, Bloody Mary Mix. Lundquist Bros, that's always been a family tradition. That was my my great grandparents, or both my great grandpas, or my great grandpa and his brother, excuse me, had a farm, and it was Lundquist Bros Farms. So on my dad's race car, he had Lundquist Bros on the right front fender. So every car that I have, or that I've had since I've started, has had Lundquist Bros on the left, on the fender. So
Nice,
that's
nice.
pretty cool. Yeah, and then we got Quarters Fuel and Car Wash in town here also, and I know I'm forgetting one. No, I think that's it. But yeah, it's each and every one of those sponsors gives a ton, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and race fans, if you're watching this, I'm going to put the graphics up there so you can see who these people are. You know, if you're in the area, support those businesses, because, you know, if they support racing, racing's our family. So not only do we want to give them a shout out, but we want you to support these businesses if it applies to you, because, and then let them know too, you know, that, hey, you know, we heard about your business on an interview or through Jake Froemke. You know, let people know that, because it's good that those sponsors not only get our business, but it's good that they hear that you're out there promoting their businesses, which is huge. You know, talk about your uncle. You said he builds your engines.
Yeah, that's another thing. We've always been, like I said, we haven't had the money to go over to Tim's or, you know, all the big name engine builders and just go pull a motor off the dyno with the dyno sheets. My uncle, he used to work for T-Zar Motors, and he was actually, when Ron Hornaday raced the Dr. Pepper Cup, or I think it was a Busch car.
Yep.
I think he was on that traveling team, and he was helping with the motors. And then he got married, came back, and started building dirt track motors, and just motors for everybody around here. I think Jesse Sklicki, you know, he ran one of his motors for a while in a sport mod, I believe. And then Taylor Tomerdall, a bunch of people he built motors for.
What's his name? What's the engine shop's name?
We get our motors from like the machining done at Quality Engine in Fargo.
Okay.
The Gressis own that, Michael Gressis, and his family. That's where my uncle worked for a while, and so he doesn't work there anymore. But he's still, obviously, they're like family.
Right.
So we get all the parts and machining through them, and then my uncle puts them together. And every motor we put in, besides the Tim's motor that came with Cook's car, which that might have to change. but yeah, every motor has been one of his, and he has not ever had one blow up ever. So, and they make a lot of power. And then my cousin Keaton races IMCA stock car, and that's kept him busy building motors. They're building a bomb next year for that thing. It's it's going to be pretty
nice.
cool. But
So it's a family deal for you guys. Now, is there a certain night in your racing career where it's like, man, this was my shining moment? It just simply, that was like your top moment that you can remember so far?
Definitely the Bradwell Memorial in 2019. I was on top of the world that night when we won that. That was it was a rain delay. We didn't even think we were going to get to race. It had rained as we were coming up to the gate. We were lined up on a dirt road for, well, as long as the dirt road was, then across the highway, and then as far as you could see. And everybody, we were all walking down the line asking if we were checking the radar, because it was literally just a cloud in the middle of nowhere, just came through and dumped on the speedway. But we got it in late that night, and it was greasy. It was definitely a driver's track. It slicked off. There was grease in the bottom. It was it was a wild track, but
That's interesting when that happens for sure.
yeah, that was definitely that's a race I go back and watch. I could tell you the story lap for lap, but we'll save that for
Right?
another time. But yeah, that check is up there.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
That deal. That was definitely a wall hanger.
Right, right.
Yeah, that was definitely that's been the highlight of my career so far for sure.
Nice, nice. Well, we're excited to see you. You know, I mean, obviously, you know how to win. You've done it plenty of times before. You ran. You know, when you don't have the bad luck gremlins, you know, you're a podium guy. You're definitely a top 5 runner everywhere you go. Transitioning into the super stocks, and I always say this. I mean, if you can win in one class, you jump into another class, you know how to win. You'll be able to win in anything. You got good equipment. I mean, you got a good engine there. Obviously, you have good help with an engine program if you need it. You got a great car with TRC race cars. You know, a lot of people backing you. So I'm expecting to see some. I'm not just top 5s, but I'm expecting to see you park that baby in victory lane at least once this year.
Well, I hope so. We don't show up. We show up with a goal to win, even though it might not happen. That's always the goal. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I guess we'll try to be prepared as we can. We've been doing a lot of research, a lot of thinking, a lot of jabbering out in the shop about what we're gonna do, and it's we got a lot of ideas. This is all new though. Like this is blank slate. But luckily we got great people behind us. We got Ronnie at TRC. Johnny Broken's kind of taken me under his wing. I gotta thank him. He's all this stuff he knows. I have no idea. I'm just used to 4 springs, 4 shocks. That's it.
Yeah, the whole Broking family, really. You know, it starts all the way up with Grandpa there, John. You know, he raced, and of course Bob still races, and Johnny. Three generations of racers, and they've helped a lot of people. So you're in good hands with them for sure. You know, and that means that you're going to have to come to the Grand Rapids Speedway, you know, multiple times.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
Let me ask you this: Super Stock, are you going to run the Fastlane Northland Super Stock Series over the course of the summer?
We've been kicking that around. We'll see what the schedule looks like, and see how doable it is. Because I mean, my work schedule, that's been the challenge. Is because this year we only did the Street Stock Tour minus a couple of races, and then I think we did 4 extra on top of the Street Stock Tour. So we didn't do a ton of racing this year because of work, but that was also in part because I was working to pay for the Super Stock. So that was kind of a deal where I had to make a decision midway through. Do I want to work for something like bigger in 2021 or finish the year strong? And I felt like this just made more sense. So
yeah, that's called work ethic right there. So race cars in your area, they don't pay for themselves either. Okay, so we learned that today. That's good.
Yes.
So with that said, I'm excited to see you this summer. You know, first time actually meeting you online here. Looking forward to meeting you in person. You know, don't hesitate to give me a call. I made a lap or 2 in a super stock myself. Any closing thoughts? You know, any closing thoughts before we jump off here?
I don't know. I just want to say thank you to everybody. This is my dream to be able to do this. I don't know what I'd do without racing. So, and I work as hard as I can to be able to afford to do this, and I'm just so grateful for everybody that supports me.
Yeah, it's a big family for sure, and a lot. If you're not involved with the racing community, you simply don't get it. It's just the way it is, and we want more people involved because it is a great sport. It's a big extended family. You know, Merry Christmas to you guys. You know, that's right around the corner here. And race fans, you can catch him all summer long next year on Dirt Race Central. Watch DRC.tv. I guarantee we're going to be covering many of the tracks that he's going to be racing at. So kind of looking maybe a contender for the WISSOTA Rookie of the Year possibly here.
We're gonna try to run next year. We're not gonna shy away from running too many shows. Next year we're going all out. I think we're starting in we might go to Cedar Lake in April, and our plan is to race till it snows. So we're gonna do a lot of racing next year. So
in Ashland, that's about mid-July. Fair enough. All right. So your season's going to get cut short. All right, race fans. Well, I'm Ryan Aho. That is Jake Froemke. And we're excited to see you next year. Thanks for joining us here on the show. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Thanks.